So, you want to build in DayZ, but you don't really know where to start. Well, you've already taken that first step by clicking on this video. If you're relatively new to DayZ, you've probably got an idea on how to survive on Chernarus through the harsh winter months. Now, the days are getting longer, and you feel like it's the perfect time to create that idyllic homestead in a zombie-infested world, but you're not quite sure how or where to begin. Base building added a whole new dimension to DayZ for me. It gives your loot real purpose and gives you something to work towards. It also adds a new level of tension, because now you've actually got something to lose, and that's where storage management and optimization can come into play. Finally, all those years of playing Tetris are actually paying off. Compared to other craft survival games, DayZ is a completely different beast. If you'd like to see my full breakdown of DayZ, I'll leave a link up above. Crafting here isn't as simple as making a stone hammer and cracking on. There's a lot of RNG involved finding the gear you need, and there's no random trader showing up to swap pliers for some pesetas.
Hello, stranger.
And honestly, that's one of the things I enjoy most about DayZ. Luckily, my zombie fighting skills have improved over time. PvP, on the other hand, still needs some work. One thing to note, whether you're playing on official or community servers, crafting options can vary. Community servers in particular often have their own distinct rules, so it's worth checking the Discord before you start. So let's jump in. The first thing you're going to want is a decent spawn location. Depending on the map, this can vary, but to keep things simple, we're sticking with Chernarus. Personally, I've had the most success starting around Chernogorsk or Svet. What you're really looking for early on are sheds, garages, and industrial buildings. These are your best chance for finding the loot you'll need to get started. While these two locations have worked well for me, pretty much any major coastal town can be just as effective. So don't be afraid to adapt based on where you spawn. So you spawned, found some food, got yourself hydrated, and a fancy pair of shoes. And now you're kind of stuck, not totally sure what you should be looking for next. When it comes to base building, you're really just trying to piece together a handful of key tools, and each one plays a major role. First up, you're looking for some rope. This is the first bit of equipment you'll need to place down the blueprint for your structure. This is basically the starting point for any structure in DayZ. Next, you'll need a shovel or a pickaxe. That's what you'll use to dig your fence posts. From there, you'll want something like a hatchet or a firefighter axe. That's going to let you chop down particular trees for logs. This is where your building materials really start coming together. When you come across a hammer, you'll use that to put up the frames for your wall. You'll also need a handsaw or a hacksaw to cut those logs into usable planks. The last few items on your list are pliers and some metal wire. That's what allows you to turn a basic fence into a gate. Add a combination lock on top of that, and now you've got a way to secure your base from everyone else in the server, at least for now. And of course, the most important part of all of this, nails. You're going to need lots of nails. There is no way around this one. If you do happen to find a sharpening stone, definitely put that in your pocket. It'll help you maintain some of your tools, which saves you a lot of hassle and more looting later on when things start to wear down. A few other bits you may want to look out for is barbed wire and sheet metal. But do note that sheet metal can't be stored in your inventory and is carried in hand only. All the while, don't forget, you're still in DayZ. Other players are out there, so while you're looting, keep your head on a swivel. It's very easy to get caught slipping when you're focused on gathering this gear. At this point, if you're still alive and got most of these items perfectly packed in your inventory, you're in a really good spot to start thinking about the base location. So now your inventory is brimming with tools and equipment. You're basically triple carrying at this point, with a shovel taking one of your main weapon slots, which means when the infected run at you, you're chucking your Moes into the ground, as you can't swap to a melee or a Mark II pistol. Just don't forget where you left it, okay? This is why having a clear idea of where you want to build is important. Do you want to stick near the coast, or do you want to push inland to where the higher tier loot areas are for better gear? But this is more risky. Personally, I like to set up somewhere close to the center of the map. It gives me more flexibility when it comes to looting routes. That said, if you're on a busy server or one that hasn't been wiped in a while, finding a good spot can be a bit of a challenge. A lot of the prime locations will already be taken. Once you've got a general area in mind, the next decision is whether you're building from scratch or using an existing structure. Early on, as resources are limited, I went for an existing building, ideally something with a single entrance that's easier to secure. I found a few places that had the exact criteria I was looking for, a single entrance with a second floor, but I didn't like the look of the neighbours, and that's something you definitely want to be aware of. Who's nearby can matter just as much as the building itself. Try to avoid building too close to main roads or high traffic loot routes. It might seem convenient, but it makes you an easier target. Once you've found the perfect spot, that's when the fun really starts. For me, Getting to the stage took around 3 to 4 hours. I wasn't rushing or trying to optimize. I was just taking it all in, enjoying the scenery, and leaning into what DayZ does best. Alright, this is where it all starts to come together. Your first wall. At this point, you've got your tools, you've picked a location, and now it's time to actually build something. And honestly, the first time you do this, it can feel a bit awkward, but once it clicks, it really clicks. So the first thing you're going to want to do is craft a fence kit. This is basically the foundation of your wall. All you need to do is combine 2 sticks and some rope. Or if you didn't find rope, you can combine 12 rags or use the guts from the player who was trying to take your loot or last night's dinner. Once you've got that, place the fence kit exactly where you want your wall to go. Take a second here, positioning matters more than you think. A slightly awkward angle can be a pain to deal with later on. Next, you're going to need 2 wooden logs. You'll get these from thicker trees, so this is where the axe or hatchet comes in. Attach those logs to the kit, then use your shovel or pickaxe to dig those posts into the ground. This is the moment where it starts to feel real. You've now got a proper frame to work with. From here, you'll move on to building the wall itself. Cut logs into planks using the hand or hacksaw. Starting with the lower section, you'll need to place 4 planks and 8 nails into the frame structure. And once they're attached, use your hammer or hatchet to build it up. Then it's the same process again for the upper section. And just like that, you've got your first full wall. Now, if you actually want to get in and out of your base properly, you'll need to turn it into a gate. Add some metal wire to the wall, grab your pliers, and you'll have the option to convert into a gate. From there, throw on a combination lock, and now you've got something that's at least going to slow people down. If you want to take this a step further, you can reinforce it with wooden paneling, which is 5 planks and 10 nails per section, or metal paneling, which is 3 sheet metal and 12 nails per section. And to top it off, add barbed wire to either the top or bottom of the frame. Just keep in mind that it works both ways. It'll hurt other players, but it'll hurt you too if you're not careful. One thing I will say, it's easy to get caught up with the building, but this makes noise and it's a slow process. So while you're doing this, don't get too comfortable. Keep checking your surroundings because this is exactly the kind of moment where someone can catch you off guard. But once that wall is up and reinforced, that's your first real bit of progress. You've gone from just surviving to carving out your own little piece of heaven. So, you've got your first wall up. Now what? This is where things can either go really well or fall apart very quickly if you don't plan ahead. Depending on the server you're playing on, especially official, you may want to start thinking about a flagpole. A flagpole is a craftable base structure, and once it's fully built with a flag attached and raised, it protects structures, tents, and other storage containers within a 60-meter radius from despawning. The flag will slowly lower over time, so you'll need to keep an eye on it and raise it back up when needed. If you can, keep an eye out for tents when looting, as these are great for larger items, and you can also craft wooden crates, which is perfect for keeping things tidy and easy to manage. If your server supports them, code locks can make securing your base a lot more convenient. And if you're looking to expand vertically, a watchtower kit is a solid option for adding height and a bit of overwatch. When it comes to expanding your base, the biggest mistake people make is going too big too soon. It's tempting to start throwing up walls everywhere, but the more you build, the more materials you need, and more importantly, the more time you'll spend exposed. Start small, get a single secure room or building locked down, and then expand outwards bit by bit. That way, even if something goes wrong, you've always got a fallback. From there, think about how you actually want to use your space. Maybe you want a dedicated storage area, somewhere to stash your gear safely. Maybe you want multiple gates, so you're not funneling yourself into one exit every time. And one thing that's often overlooked, stash points. Having a couple stashes hidden nearby can save you if the worst happens and your base gets raided. As you expand, you can start reinforcing your walls with metal sheets or adding barbed wire. It's not going to make your base unraidable, but it will slow people down and make your base a less attractive target. At the end of the day, base building in DayZ isn't about being untouchable. It's about making it difficult enough that someone decides it's not worth the effort. Now, before you go all in on building, there are a few common mistakes that can cost you a lot of time and a lot of gear. The first one is building your wall the correct way around. You want your wall inventory facing inwards. If you can access the inventory outside, so can everyone else, making it easy to break down. Next is building in high traffic areas. It might seem convenient being close to loot routes, but it also means other players are constantly passing through. If they spot your base, it's only a matter of time. Another one is poor positioning. If your walls are awkwardly placed or your gate is exposed, you're making life easier for anyone trying to get in. Take your time with placement, it really does matter. Overbuilding is another trap. Like I said earlier, bigger isn't always better, and it takes time and a lot more effort to maintain. Then there's the storage management. If everything you own is in one place, you're taking a huge risk. One raid and it's all gone. Spread things out where you can. And finally, getting too comfortable. This is probably the biggest one. You start feeling safe and you let your guard down. And then that's where DayZ reminds you what it's all about. No matter how secure your base feels, always assume that someone's watching and planning a way in. Your base isn't meant to last forever. It's just part of the story. The goal isn't perfection. It's about surviving as long as you can manage it. And that's it. You've now got everything you need to start building your first base in DayZ. It isn't the most intuitive crafting system I've ever used, but it adds an extra element of enjoyment and risk in one of my favourite games. From finding your perfect spawn, gathering the right tools, choosing a location, and finally putting up your first wall, it's no longer just about survival. It's about building something that's your own. Just remember, no base is ever truly safe. It's not about making it unraidable. It's about making it difficult enough that people move on, or at least make them work for it. If this helped you out, please drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. If you want to see more guides and reviews, please consider subscribing. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.